Smart 24, driving business.
Thank you for staying tuned to Smart 24 Television, where we believe in driving your business. This is Business Insight, and today we're going to be talking about the Afcon bid for East Africa and how you, as a business person who's watching this morning, is able to capitalize on that opportunity or the opportunities a tournament of this magnitude will bring to this part of the African continent. Good morning. My name is Jane Kasumba. I'm a commercial lawyer and I'm attached to Smart 24 Television for the Business Insight segment. I want to say a special thank you to all of you who are joining us around the continent, from Cairo to Marrakesh in Morocco this morning, because we know that you're watching, to those in Central African Republic, to those in Gabon, to those in New Guinea as well, to those who in Côte d'Ivoire, in Abidjan this morning, and also to those in DRC, to those in Luanda in Angola, to those in Maputo, and to those in Santon in South Africa, and those, of course, in the East African region, Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, Juba, Mogadishu, and Bujumbura. You're most welcome this morning. Without further ado, let me really delve deep into our topic of the day, and I'm sure you've been through since 7 a.m. this morning. A very interesting topic. Uganda has won the bid to host the 2027 Afcon. For those of you who might not know, the Afcon, is the premier tournament, football tournament for CAF. It's equivalent to the Euro, UEFA's Euro. It's our World Cup. It's the African World Cup, and brings together numerous teams, African national teams, to play top flight football in the best way possible. And since the tournament is coming to East Africa, that is to Kenya, to Tanzania, and to Uganda, we're taking a bird's eye view look on it from a business perspective to see how you, our viewers this morning, can capitalize 101%. And in the studio with me this morning is a gentleman who knows how to do everything to do with sport. He's able to spin off on all sports events and ensure that he gets a return on investment. And that's why he is in studio with me. Mr. Oscar Walugembe here in Uganda needs really no introduction to sport and entertainment and putting up a tournament of this magnitude. Mr. Oscar Suna Walugembe, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jen. Thank you for having me around.
Yes.
Our viewers, good morning. From all over the continent, I'm happy to be here. My name is Suna Oscar Walugembe. I'm an events organizer specializing in sports, and I'm interested in growing sports tourism in Africa. Thank you.
That is a well said and well put introduction. I just want to know from you, Oscar, what is sports tourism?
Sports tourism is basically a segment of travel where people move from one part of the country or continent to another place, specifically for sports and other spin-offs. So basically, people will move from Uganda and go and watch the Euro because they're interested in sports. Or people will go and watch Olympics because they're interested in sports. Or people will go and watch motorbiking, or people will go to Kenya to watch the safari rally. So that's basically sports tourism. People move from one place to another to go and have a bigger look at the venues where these sports activities are taking place. And after the sports activity, they indulge in other activities. For example, I could go and watch the safari rally, and after the safari rally, I go to another game park in Kenya. So instead of me wanting to go to Kenya because of the game park, sports will have taken me to Kenya. That's what we call sports tourism.
So on the African continent, where have you been, Mrs. Suna? Where have you taken your family to be part and parcel of sport tourism? And which sport activities should people look out for on the African continent?
I was blessed to go to South Africa for the World Cup not with my family yet. They were
The
not
2010
yet,
World Cup?
Yeah, I went to South Africa, stayed there for 6 years, and that's where my interest in this sector comes from, because I was involved in outdoor festivals.
Yeah.
In South Africa, it's a business.
Big time business.
Big time business. And the country takes it serious. The city takes it serious. Cape Town, Johannesburg, Pretoria. So people fly in from Europe. I was involved in the world's biggest synchronized cycling event, which is the Cape Epic.
Yeah.
People fly in from America, from Europe, just for cycling.
To be part of that, yeah.
Yes, so that's sports tourism.
Okay.
So from that experience, I thought, why don't we do it in Uganda? In East Africa, we have a full 12 months ideal for outdoor activities, but we're not doing it. So we have a lot to offer. And for me, I'm very excited about Afcon, because there are a lot of spin-offs, short and medium term, and long term, that are going to come out of it, as long as we are intentional. Whatever is going to happen now should be intentional. It shouldn't be by mistake. We need to do things intentionally with goals and objectives to achieve. Yes.
I think that is one thing to take note of, the fact that we have to be intentional in whatever it is that we have to do. And that brings us down, of course, to the Afcon. It's the first time that Uganda will be hosting the Afcon alongside Tanzania and alongside Kenya. It's the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that this tournament will be coming to the East African region. And there's a lot to show in East Africa for sports tourism. Before we get to sports tourism, actually, what is there for people who are watching us from other parts of Africa? What is it that they can find in East Africa, Oscar?
Listen, East Africa has it all. In terms of the direct tourism, we have the big five. People fly in globally for the big five. And we have the big five in their natural setting, not in game reserves in cages. So everybody from Iceland to the closest country to East Africa should be excited about this. You're going to see the big five in their natural setting. That is part one. We have Africa's biggest lake, freshwater body, here in East Africa. We have the world's longest river in East Africa.
Oh, yeah.
What more do you need?
You've put it very well. What more do we need? And now let's zero down to the sporting events that East Africa is famed for.
For me, first I need to salute the people who are involved in this bid. It's basically, I look at it like this boy in a family who's not the most performing, but decides to walk to the father and tell them, Dad, I need some extra investment into myself so that I can do this project on the side. We should recognize that East Africa, we don't rank very well in Africa in terms of football, but the three sister bodies, the FUFA and the Kenya the Soccer Federation and the Tanzania Soccer Federation and Zanzibar, were bold enough to sit and say, let's go for this bid. So that's a change in mindset. The political setup in the three countries was also very positive about it. It's quite a huge investment that's going to be done. So I'm happy that these bodies and entities and persons and technical people, I should tell you, I was slightly involved in the preparation, and there was a good representation of women. So for me, that was a very big positive, and not at the lower chain, but
at the top chain.
Yes, the technical people from the three countries were women.
Yeah.
So for me, that is very positive. But going back to the tournament itself, upon saluting those people, I see a lot of opportunities that are going to come around this tournament.
What kind of opportunities? Because let's take a look at the dynamics. This tournament is going to be held, I think it's over a month.
Yeah.
It takes around about 30 days or so. It's going to be in three countries, Nairobi in Kenya, Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, and in Kampala in Uganda.
And Zanzibar.
And Zanzibar as well. Yeah. And Zanzibar as well. So there's going to be a lot of coordination and synchronization. I mean, if you're a tourist, perhaps a sports tourist, how are you going to book to make sure that you watch such and such a game? Now, when, of course, the bid would have not been won if one of those countries had decided to go it alone. So they decided to go as a cluster. It's very difficult to run a tournament as a cluster, isn't it?
Yes, but also it creates opportunities of linkages. One, before we go into the opportunities, for me I think it's critical we talk about the process to opportunities.
Yeah, I think it is important.
You know, because nothing is just going to rain from up to us in terms of opportunities. We need to prepare ourselves. Like I said, we need to be intentional. We need to do things with intention. So in the line of doing things with intention, we need to have that build up. One, the mindset needs to change from up to the last person who's going to sell maize along the road or vend kits at the stadium. You need to recognize this is a big soccer tournament, so your way of doing business equally has to change. You know, the big corporate companies need to look at this as an opportunity for them to align their brands to the tournament so that their brands can go beyond the normal trajectory lines where they've been trading. So the things we need to do between this time. One, for example, we need to have inter-department conversations. This is soccer, but it has a side of emergency. You know, if something happens to somebody at the pitch, how is it going to be handled? The emergency medical issues. So the Ministry of Health has to come on board. The experience of coming to East Africa is beyond soccer. Like I said, people will be interested to go to the game parks. So that's the Ministry of Tourism. Interconnectivity, Ministry of Transport. Security, Police. So there are very many departments that need to be in the conversation. So we need to start having these conversations. Two, inclusive. We need to lay the opportunities on the table and say, this is what is likely to come out as opportunities. Can we equitably and fairly share them between the haves and have-nots so that the local population feels they're part of the tournament? If you leave them behind in terms of opportunities, it will be a tournament for the elite.
Yeah. And I think that is why it's very important for us to take a bird's eye view onto this issue of Afcon 2027. The question is, how can we make sure that you who's at home can maximize 100% the business opportunity when a tournament of this magnitude is in your backyard? The Afcon brings a lot of business opportunities for people in this region, doesn't it? And I think that's why people bid. They bid hard to make sure that they're part and parcel of this tournament. Tell us about the opportunities that one can have.
First, people are going to fly into Uganda. So the airlines are going to make money. But before that, people are going to be...
And let's do it down on that, because interestingly, all the three countries have airlines. There's Air Tanzania, there's Kenya Airways, and then there's Uganda Airlines.
So a conversation will be held between those three on how to make sure that all African hubs are attended to and people can directly fly to East Africa. We don't want people coming to East Africa, for example, from North Africa, first going to Spain and then having to come back. It should be from Egypt down to East Africa, from Morocco down to East Africa, from South Africa straight to Entebbe. We all know Africa interconnectivity in terms of airlines is very poor. So it's time to have those conversations and correct these things so that we have direct flights to the destinations. Marketing opportunities. We need to start making the noise.
So the opportunities for marketeers.
Yes,
in this
marketeers. ICT. If I fly into Entebbe, I should be able to just snap code myself
and go through. So you're talking about the ICT or IT, yeah, the IT integration and all the IT experts to make sure that they are at par with the latest technology, and this is an opportunity for them to unveil it. Yeah. Which other opportunity is there?
Logistics. If I get to the airport, how do I get to my hotel?
Yes.
You know?
So all the logistical companies also have an opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah. Food and beverages.
Yeah. Culture.
Yeah. Sure, taking the various cultures and parties alongside the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real estate.
Okay, that is true. Because now, on the advent of, how many people do you think will be traveling to Uganda because of the Afcon? Because then from there you can zero down on the issues to do with real estate, on the issues to do with accommodation, on the issues to do with the living arrangements.
I think we should have a minimum of 5 to 6 million people moving between the 3 East African countries. Yes, in the past the numbers for Afcon haven't been very good, but we have an opportunity, like I said, we have some very good, unique selling points. This region performs well, tourism-wise, and we just need to top up on that. And we have an opportunity, unlike before, or the past countries that have hosted, to look at the off-pitch experience. For example, we shouldn't look at just the stadiums. We should create the wild experiences. We have the source of the Nile. Let's put something at the source of the Nile. Yeah. You know, and target that high-end clientele. Yeah. To go watch the game there. The hotels are there, so we don't have to put anything. But we are spreading the money to Jinja, because there's not going to be a stadium in Jinja. Yeah. So let's not crowd everything in Kampala. Yeah. We have Murchison Falls. Who doesn't want to be at Murchison Falls? Yeah. Put an experience there in the park and take volumes there. We have Queen Elizabeth. We have the Renzori. Yeah. Put experiences there and spread, because in sports tourism, people will come not exactly because of the sports.
They'll come for the sport and more.
Yes. Or simply because of the energy around the sports, and somebody is not even going to enter the pitch. So let's cater for those people and take them down there, spread the money.
Spread the money.
Yes.
And I think that is very important, because whenever you have a tournament of that magnitude in your neighborhood, I think it's important for you to maximize at the end of the day. The issue is, how can you be part of the money economy? How can you be part of the tons of money that will be flooding in, or the tons of opportunities that will be flooding in because of Afcon 2027? And how can you play your part to make sure that you're ready to fully maximize on that opportunity? How can Ugandans be ready for a spectacle like this? We've never hosted an event of this magnitude before. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, one, people need to get their businesses registered. That's the reality. If you're going to sell something on this tournament, please go to URSB and register your business, because it's not the usual drill we are used to of informal, unregistered entities.
Okay, so if you want to, that's a very good tip. If you want to be part and parcel of the organizing and part and parcel of the tournament, really in the center of it, you need to have a registered company, you need to have a registered body.
Yes.
Okay.
And then secondly, after registering, play by the rules of our bodies. That's to say, the URA, pay your tax, and then be ready for the opportunities. And then time will reach when the bidding starts for whatever opportunities. You will be ready, because your entity is registered and can be considered for these opportunities.
And of course there is time, because the tournament is in 2027. But actually, if you're talking to someone, those major organizers, sometimes they say time is never our best ally. 2027 is not too far away, because we're into 2024, because 2023 is coming to an end. We have a full 2024, we have the full 2025, and then we have election year 2026, which will be very busy. So we have pretty much just three years to make sure that we're compliant to all the requirements for the Afcon. Another question that I want to ask you before we go for the break: what are the requirements for the countries to be part and parcel of this event?
You mean the hosting countries?
The hosted countries.
Yeah.
What must they make sure that they do in order for them to have a successful bid at the end of the day? Because it's not over yet.
Yeah. First, you need to meet the requirements that they set. For example, the stadiums, the interconnectivity issues, the security, the inclusiveness. Try to spread the opportunities between one another. I mean, the entities that are able to take them up. And mainly those are the main ones, because the stadiums are needed. People need to be able to move from one place to another. And then, because we bid as 3 countries, obviously we'll have the group games spread in the countries. And then after the group games, people will move to the countries that will be hosting the last games of the tournament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Which country do you think is most prepared out of the 3?
Uganda.
That's very, very well said. I'm still with Mr. Oscar Suna Walugembe. He is an events organizer and a person who is very well versed with setting up of sports events and how you can maximize from the spillover effect of a great tournament. Uganda is one of 3 countries that will be hosting the very prestigious Afcon championship in 2027. Our counterparts are Kenya and Tanzania. So it's going to be a bid of 3. The 3 big East African countries will be showcasing their prowess when it comes to sport and when it comes to sport tourism. Mr. Oscar Walugembe is still in studio with me. We're going for a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. You're tuned into Smart 24 Television, where we drive your business.
Smart 24, driving business.
Jovia. Ng'oyolekera ku lugendo luno olw'obulamu. Nkuwa ekirabo eky'amaanyi agatazizibwa. Amaanyi okulabibwa n'okuwulirwa mu mawanga ag'ewala ennyo. Okutuuka buli wamu nga yadde togenzeeyo. Ensi yonna ng'ekuli mu ngalo. Okutambula mu biseera n'okumanya buli kimu ekirina okumanyibwa. Jovia, kino kye kirabo kyange gy'oli.
Tewali kkubo ku ki gy'osobola okukola omukutu nnandameggwa ogwa MTN.
Smart 24, driving business.
Thank you very much for staying tuned to Smart 24 Television, where we believe in driving your business. This is Business Insight. It's part segment of the morning show, Smart Meets Business, on this channel. You too can partake and be part of this morning breakfast show by making sure that you have your adverts advertised on this channel at this time on this space, so that you're able to be watched by over, I think, almost how many? What is the population of Africa now?
Over 1 billion.
Aha, over 1 billion people, because we're being watched all across the continent. And we just welcome all of you who are watching us from various parts of the continent, from east, west, north and south of the continent. You're in very, very good company. We're tuned in to Smart 24. Today we're discussing Afcon. Afcon is coming home for the first time, being hosted in this region. It's being hosted by Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania. It's a 3-country bid which was successful, so the trophy is coming home. And once the trophy comes, it comes with a lot of goodies. And here to talk about all the business goodies that you can tap into during Afcon 2027 is Oscar Suna Walugembe. Oscar, how important is it for business people who are watching this morning, for entrepreneurs who are watching this morning, to be as innovative as possible around this kind of tournament? And what can they get into to ensure a maximum return on investment for their business?
Thank you, Jen. Our viewers, you're welcome again. First, like I mentioned before, your business has to be registered.
Yeah.
So please go register your businesses and get ready. Identify your niche. For example, there'll be a big need for translation services. We have our sisters who have been going to the Middle East, going and coming back, and some of them speak Arabic.
Yeah.
So we can cater for the North Africa.
Oh, that's a very good one. I had not thought about that. Yeah.
We have,
translators. Translators in Arabic. Yeah.
So a smart hotel should employ a few of these people to be able to provide the translation services.
So people feel at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because some people don't speak English.
That is true.
We have a huge Congolese community in Uganda which speaks French.
Yeah.
They're with us, so why shouldn't we use them to be part of this organization? Again, have them employed in the stadiums or hotels. Somebody could argue, why not Ugandans? The reality is we don't have a big French-speaking community in Uganda, so let's use them to top up. And we provide a good experience, because that's what we want at the end.
What else can be done for a person who's watching this morning? How else can they be innovative and ensure that they are able to maximize 100% from this great sporting event?
We have very many influencers. It's time to start selling Destination Uganda.
Oh, that's true. It's never too early. It's never too late.
No.
How do you sell a destination? How do you encourage them to sell Uganda as a sporting destination?
Yes. Before we even go to the sporting, we need to create that traction. We shouldn't wait to make money in 2027. We need to start making money now.
Now. Yeah.
The other one should just be the epitome. So let's get people to start coming to Uganda from today. Yeah. Using Afcon as a platform.
Yeah.
So let's start marketing our country out. We have diplomatic missions. We need to start putting out the message out.
Yes.
And telling people Afcon 2027 is in East Africa.
Yeah.
You know? We have Lake Victoria. I could easily spend my month on Lake Victoria during Afcon because we have a few ferries there. So there will be jobs for those who can work on those ferries.
Yeah.
You know, the fishing communities will have a lot to showcase in Lake Victoria on either side of the border. You know, so in simple terms, you need to focus and put your energies where you have your comparative advantages. You can simply be a food vendor. If you're formal, you'll be considered. But you could be a big restaurant who's not registered, you won't be considered. So we need to formalize our operations in line with opportunities we want to take up during Afcon.
Okay, I think that is very important, the issue, and I think Mr. Walagembe keeps on touching on it. It keeps on touching on the fact that you have to make sure that you have all the necessary and requisite compliance. Compliance is met for your business so that you do not miss out on the opportunities that are available for those who are going to partake in Afcon 2027. And of course, we've had numerous tournaments held across the continent, Afcon being one of them, but also the World Cup being another. And if you remember in 2010, South Africa's economy grew by leaps and bounds by hosting the World Cup 2010. There were a lot of expenses, yes, but of course there were some opportunities as well. It's a very expensive tournament to host, and can Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya realize a return on investment at the end of the day from a business perspective?
Yes, we can, and yes, we should. There are things you can achieve short term, medium term, and long term. Short term is a fun Afcon.
Yeah.
Medium.
When you talk about fun, what do you mean?
Fun. People coming.
They call Uganda the entertainment capital of East Africa. So there's a lot to do in nightlife in Uganda.
Yeah. People coming to Uganda, going to the stadiums.
Yeah.
Having a good game after going to clubs or bars or everywhere, going to the game parks, doing their thing, and within 30 days they're out.
Yeah.
And they've had a fun experience in Uganda, Kenya, or Tanzania. That is short term.
Yeah.
Medium term is growing your tourism volumes or revenues. That needs a strategy around it. But long term is about the legacy. Greece had the Euro.
Yeah.
South Africa had the
World Cup.
Who had a better legacy?
Yeah.
Greece doesn't have much of a legacy.
Yeah.
Or Qatar has a legacy that they looked around. So we also need to look at what do we want to have as a legacy as East Africa. And this could be in different ways. For example, can we include the kids? Because we all know that the stadiums won't be full during the non-national games. So,
but I thought that the euphoria is a little different. When we're hosting a tournament of this magnitude, I know usually the Uganda Cranes games will be packed. That is no doubt. But maybe if we're having, let me give you an example, maybe two teams, maybe like Comoros versus Cape Verde or something, countries that people are not very well versed with. I thought that it's because it's Afcon, I think it's easier to raise the momentum and get the stadiums packed. That's not the case?
From history, at least the last 3 Afcons I've watched, those stadiums are never full.
Okay.
So for me, my remedy is let's get the kids, the young generation, into the stadiums. Because on the other side, we know that our national leagues are struggling with attendance. And there are very many reasons behind that. But this is an opportunity for us to rebuild our national interest in sports. We're faced with the Premier League on the other side, which is about convenience. I sit on my phone and watch Manchester play Arsenal. No hassle, no nothing. But the hassle for me to go to a local league game, which could end up into fighting, is so much of a risk to take.
Yeah.
You watch the Premier League and see a dad coming to the stadium with the 2-year-old, the team loses and the kid is crying. Do you see it in Uganda? A parent coming to a stadium with a kid?
No.
There are reasons behind.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for us to rebuild. And how? Let's get the kids into the stadium. Let's have family packages. Let's have a safe environment for people to come with their kids to the stadiums, where it's not going to end up into violence. It's convenient to get in and out of the stadium, and the environment is just right for a dad and mom to sit. No sexual harassment, no nothing. Feel safe.
And no throwing of bottles. Yeah?
Yes.
With liquid in the bottles and that gruesome stuff.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. Many of the countries, especially Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, who have decided to host the Afcon 2027, did not just decide to host it for fun. governments are also looking for an opportunity to maximize and ensure that they're able to boost their economies. Do you think this is a kind of tournament that can assist or can certainly create a leap for the East African economies? Is this a good and erstwhile investment, or is it just a white elephant? You know, there's some tournaments that become white elephants, if you're not mistaken. I mean, let's take a look at, it's no secret that some of the tournaments that were held in China, some of the stadiums are huge, up to 90,000 capacity seater stadiums, 100,000 capacity seater stadiums. But after that, you just don't know what to do with the stadium. It becomes a white elephant. It's expensive to maintain, yeah. That's number one. Number two, you have hotels. People build huge hotels. I mean, we saw this during the CHOGM when Uganda hosted the CHOGM in 2007. Governments build huge hotels in the anticipation of many tourists. When, of course, it's when the tournament is over, what do you do with it, with these hotels? What do you do with these colossal infrastructure development opportunities? So the question is, at the end of the day, is it worthwhile to invest in a tournament of this magnitude, or is it a white elephant?
I believe it is very worthy investing in it. First, as the East African community, we are 200 million people. How many Ugandans have traveled to Kenya or Tanzania?
That's
how many Kenyans
question,
have traveled to Uganda or Kenya? Or how many Tanzanians have traveled to Kenya or Uganda? Not for business. So this is an opportunity to open our three borders, to just make it so easy. Being an African.
Easy to open borders, easy to trade, easy to exchange opportunities and ideas.
As an African, I would advocate that before you fly to Paris, fly to before you fly to Cape Town. Charity begins at home.
Charity begins at home.
So
I believe that 100%.
Let's first spread the money within ourselves.
Yes.
The excess we spread out.
You know, and it's very interesting. Rwanda stating that we no longer want our African brothers or sisters to enter our country using a visa. That's the same with Kenya as well. That starts in December. And so many others as well are starting to take root of that. And I think it's a very erstwhile beacon call this morning that you've mentioned, that if you're an African person and you're watching the African continent, don't seek to go to the United States first. Don't seek to go to Paris first before you go to your neighbor. Yeah? You go to your neighbor. Can you imagine a flight, a flight between maybe Uganda to Ghana can take you longer than a flight from Uganda to Europe, which is not acceptable.
Yeah, I think they say
it's not acceptable.
From London to Entebbe is shorter than Entebbe to Queen Elizabeth.
Really?
Yeah. Takes you more hours.
Takes you more hours.
Yeah.
So what am I trying to say at the end of the day? We have to really find these opportunities and maximize on these opportunities, and the opportunities start with us. What is a comparison between the Afcon and the World Cup? Is there any comparison?
Yes.
Can we make that big money? Yeah. Can we make that big money for the economy, despite that the tournament might not be as big as the big boy?
For me, it's about the strategy. What do you want to showcase or sell?
Yeah.
If your focus is just on the pitch, you're not going to make much money.
Yeah.
Because there's a limit to that, and that limit is very small. Because let's say each country is going to have 3 stadiums of, let's say, 100,000 people. That's 300,000 people in each country.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of money. But the off-pitch experience, the spreading of the money from the big power centers of Kampala, Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, there's a lot we can do in that side.
Yeah.
And we can actually earn more money from those experiences than the stadium. Because at the stadium, let's say you're paying $20 the profit of the $20 after all costs, you could remain with $5. That's little money. Yet I can make that $5 simply on entry one day on a person coming as a tourist, who's going to have the experience in the game park. So it's about the strategy and what we want to sell. We need to sell East Africa as a destination for sports as well as the bigger tournament. So that even a European says, there's a soccer tournament called Afcon. What is this opportunity? I think it's time we could even say during that time it should be visa free. To come into Uganda, because if I tell you South Africa is visa free, are you going to keep the visa money you would have paid in the back in your box in the bedroom?
No, you won't. You will go out and spend it.
So the only difference
and spend it happily.
Yes. The only difference is that money is not going to go in the government coffers first. It will go into the private coffers back to government. So can government be open-minded to that and say visa-free during, let's say, a lapse of 3-6 months around the tournament? So that we have numbers, because it's a game of numbers. You need to put as many incentives around this tournament to have the masses flowing. And the long-term picture also has to be built around, for example, after the tournament, what next? What happens
to stadiums? What happens to the infrastructure that has been created? What happens to hotels?
So incentives need to be put in place. If I expanded my hotel to accommodate the Afcon people or teams or fans, why shouldn't I get an incentive on decreasing the tax that I'm going to be paying? Because reality is, we might not have the volumes maintained at the same level. So let this expansion not be a problem, because the money I made during that time is not going to sustain me for a year to come. So incentives need to be around. People who build stadiums, we have a few people who have privately built stadiums, need to get incentives to be able to maintain these facilities. People who are going into the youth sports, because we need to create that sustainability.
And I think
given incentives.
I think this is where we mustn't forget that it is a sporting event, and yes, sports tourism is upon us, and people get extremely excited. But if the teams, the hosts themselves, be it Tanzania, be it Kenya, be it Uganda, are out in the first round, then the interest of the tournament will certainly slump. And that's why it's so important, I think, for the federations of the three countries to invest in the grassroots football, to ensure that at the end of the day, by the time it's 2027, you have a team that has risen through the ranks and can at least go through to the first round. Because this is a game of, it's showbiz. It's showbiz. I mean, if you're hosting as Uganda, you can imagine you're in Uganda, you're in a Ugandan stadium, the president is there, all the important persons are in the stadium, and your team is not playing, or your team has not qualified. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in that area.
Look at Japan and Korea when they hosted the World Cup. Again, they had a lot of that long-term view. And they invested in the youth sports. What is happening now in the international scene? Japan beats Germany like a baby. Not once, not twice. Korea has done it to Italy, not once, not twice.
Because the investment has been done.
They invested. So they didn't just stop at hosting. They said, okay, we've hosted, what next? We need to invest in this thing to make it sustainable, and the results are visible.
And what many people might not know actually is that at the end of the day, because we're looking for all the business opportunities, be it in the public or the private sector, when it comes to Afcon. But what many people might not know is that once a national team in a tournament like Afcon progresses and perhaps wins, there is prize money. There's lots of prize money to be won. There's broadcast rights also to be won as well. There's lots of money, lots of endorsements that come with it, and lots of publicity that comes to the country. How important is it to put on a big show when it comes to Afcon 2027 for Uganda?
It's very important at very many different levels.
Yeah.
Political-wise,
Yeah.
social-wise, economically to attract new money into the country, because people are going to be seeing the country like they've never seen it before. So it's an opportunity for all sectors to show up. And even the players, it's time to sell yourself. It's time to sell yourself to Europe or America or beyond just your normal borders.
Yeah.
So everybody has a role to play, because the cameras are going to be onto us. Companies that want to come and invest in real estate or tourism or, any business are going to be looking.
Yeah.
So we need to prepare ourselves well,
Yeah.
so that we showcase what is on the table.
So that we showcase what is on the table. So those of you who are watching us this morning must, of course, take note. I hope you have a pen and paper to write down the opportunities that are on offer for Afcon 27. If you happen to be living in Uganda, lots of opportunities, but you must tap in now. The first thing is, if you have a business and you want to provide services, make sure that your business is properly registered and has the necessary compliant documentation, so that you too can partake in a big way in this tournament. Perhaps you're a federation currently in one of the three countries. Make sure that the team that you're going to showcase and the coach that you're going to showcase are people who can deliver. Because if the team cannot deliver, you can't get the people in the stadiums and you can't make the big money. It's actually a spin-off effect. The spin-off effect. If you're in government, you should be sitting down now and penning down what level of infrastructure is required. If you're going to have an influx of almost 3 to 5 million people flying in from various parts of the world to partake of this tournament, is the airport ready? Is the transportation network ready and able to handle this level of this height of competition? What about the services industry? Are your services industries ready and up to par to offer? What about accommodation? Do you have enough rooms for the people who are going to stay here? And on top of that, what about security? Are you able to man every single point where people are going to be converging in big numbers? So there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. And sometimes, I must say, in Africa, we do things last minute, but sometimes that can be our Achilles tendon. Tell me, how important is it for us to prepare now for Afcon 2027 so that we can reap the economic dividends?
You see, like I said, everything must be intention from today. For example, as far as I know, we only have one CAF certified security person in Uganda.
Oh, are you serious? Only one?
Mr. Dixon Okelo.
Yes.
As far as I know.
Yes, that is true.
So, during Afcon, is he able to handle everything himself?
Or this is the time for him to start training and building systems?
No, this is the time for government to invest in him, to train others.
Yeah, and give people opportunities. Yeah.
So, how much spin-off can we have on that? How much security people do we need for one stadium?
Yeah.
In hundreds.
Yeah.
We need to equally have a volunteer system of young youths who are ready to volunteer, but obviously be paid, But the mindset has to be built now. Yeah. So these processes have to start.
Let's also take another look at issues to do with, because you've talked about the various sectors that have to be looked into. For example, for broadcasting, for one football game of an international level, for Afcon, for example, you need over 60 in the stadium. And every single player has to have a camera dedicated to him. So you can imagine the level of creativity required, the level of preparation required in order for you to have a successful broadcast. Because remember, that's another way of making a lot of money, the broadcast rights. Because remember, everything that you telecast, you can sell if you're the rights holders. But in order for you to sell, it has to be of a particular standard and of a particular requirement. So all those preparations must be put in place. Yes, Oscar, continue, you were saying.
Do you think we are ready in that side?
Because Afcon is under CAF. CAF has a specialized broadcasting wing, if I'm not mistaken. And they work very closely with FIFA. And they have a lot of investment when it comes to broadcasting and broadcast rights for tournaments like this. But they want the local channels, they want the local broadcasters, the national broadcasters in particular, to play a lead role as a host. So you have to be prepared. No, I don't think we're ready yet.
So plenty of opportunities there.
Plenty of opportunities there, for sure.
We need to merge our media companies to sit on the table and say, okay, this is a product we all need to eat off, but we need to build a team or teams. And that requires time, that requires a bit of an investment to build that skill, to have the gelling of the people together, to be able to give that product to that quality. So that's why I said in the beginning that conversations need to start between different players in different sectors to be able to have this product delivered. The environment. If you have 5 million people coming into East Africa, what is our take on keeping our environment intact? The waste that's going to be generated. Plenty of opportunities for people in waste collection and recycling. So you don't have to be a big business to benefit. You could say, me, I'm going to apply to sort waste at a stadium. And after sorting waste, what do? You sell it off. And you make your money, and you're out.
And you're out. Oh, and on that note, we have to bid you adieu. I just want to take this opportunity to ask Oscar one final thing. Oscar, how can Ugandan people, or people in East Africa, or people across Africa maximize on an opportunity of this magnitude?
First, we need to portray positivity, because if you're negative about what's coming up, you'll even miss the opportunities. So positivity is first. Creativity is second. The opportunities that will come out of creativity where people didn't see them coming, you know? And then the normal opportunities from hospitality to the others. So align yourself somewhere. Don't be everywhere. Just choose one line.
And specialize.
And specialize in that.
Okay.
We are not good at specializing. We want to be left, right, and center. So this time, it's time to change our mindset. Go for one thing, specialize, be the best at it, and you'll be able to make the most money out of it.
And I think you've said it best. I've been talking to Mr. Oscar Suna Walugembe, and he's an event organizer, and he handles global sports events. We've been talking about Afcon 2027. It is coming home, and home is East Africa this morning. It's coming to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, to Nairobi in Kenya, and of course to Kampala in Uganda. It is CAF's global showpiece. It is a spectacle to behold, and some of the biggest names, both on and off the pitch, will be making their way to East Africa. And you, as a viewer who perhaps is an entrepreneur, is of a business mind, or is looking for that big opportunity to make that ka-ching, this is your opportunity. You can make it on this kind of global platform, but you need to be ready. And that's what Mr. Oscar Suna Walugembe has been talking about, the issue of planning, the issue of preparedness, not just to people in the public sector, but in the private sector, but also those in the public sector. 3 years to get it right for Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. to make sure that we make this a tournament to remember and get a return on our investment and boost our economies. On that note, I have to bid you adieu this morning. A special thank you for myself, Jane Kasumba, and also for all the entire team who've been part of Smart Means Business, and of course to our producer, Mr. Isa. Just remember that you're tuned into Smart 24 Television this morning. We help you drive your business.